Hey everyone, welcome to Markets on the 8th. However, not quite the 8th. We said schedule this one a little bit out of sequence. Donna's been in Italy. I've been really busy. We recorded this a little bit early so that when we return together, next episode we can talk about Donna's adventures in Italy. So here we are, Markets on the 8th, less one. Enjoy the show.
Welcome to Real Siblings, It Ain't Easy, a real estate podcast with the goal to educate, inform, and save their listeners time as they navigate the market and properties in their neighborhoods. Get ready to join real-life siblings and professional real estate advisors, Donna Reed and Eric Seemann, as they discuss how it may be simple, but it ain't always easy.
Every time I think about the places I have known, I realize that times have changed. So I'll do what I can to make this house into a home. Yeah.
Hi everyone, thanks for joining us. I'm Eric, she's Donna, we're the Real Siblings, and we are the hosts for this unconventional, unique, and entirely unusual real estate and lifestyle podcast. We take them both, we put them in a blender, we hit that power on button, and we make an amazing concoction.
Did you just write this?
Making it up as I go. We are here to work to communicate, educate, connect, and entertain our listeners. The topics always vary, our conversations go in many directions, and as you can see, we might be on something that's a little bit more real estate based today. So welcome. Thanks for joining us. And Donna.
Hi, everybody. So guess what we're going to talk about today? Numbers, my favorite thing.
Market on the 8th.
If you paid any attention to last month, it was very clear that I do words. He does numbers way more than I do. But we do think that it's important on a regular basis to let you know some of the numbers and what's happening. If you're watching, I put my backdrop up, which is the cover page of a new MLS website for us, which I love because it's big and bold and obvious what the June stats were here. I really enjoy that. I prefer that to digging to find one number. So, So again, Eric and I just had a brief conversation and talked about what's happening in our cities, because we live in cities of comparable size, it always seems, and yet schools are very different with how many are there. Age brackets are different, price points are different, and so you want me to go ahead, Eric, and talk a little bit about what I got behind me?
You go ahead. Talk about your change to your MLS screen.
I'm leaning over, just so you know, in case you're watching, and if you're listening, you don't care about that at all. But I just pulled up the June stats, and our median sales price was $363,500. The average was $438,37. So big difference between the median and the average.
That's a bigger variance than what
yes
you normally have.
You are correct. And I think based on what I have seen is that some of the higher end homes, if they're cash buyers, if they have the money, they're just going. The middle ones and the lower end, that 7 or 8% interest rate really affected the first time buyers. So some of the ones that qualified for a home 6 months ago or a year ago, all of a sudden they couldn't. And as a result, we sold a few less on that end, right? So that average becomes substantially different. And the median days on market, this goes to that same point, was 21. The average days on market was 42. So again, double, right? Just to think about that between the median and the average. So where were you? You just pulled up June in and this is all of Southern Arizona, you guys. For those of you that listen, we talk about me being in Tucson. And I am, and Tucson has a suburb called Vail, and one that's Marana, and one that's Oro Valley. But our MLS goes pretty far south. It's quite substantial. Maybe sometime I'll take a picture of the area that our MLS covers and use that.
Because you said it goes all the way to the border.
Yeah, it goes down as far as, and then when we get to Douglas and Sonoyta, we get into another MLS system down there. So, and Sierra Vista. I said Sierra Vista earlier. That was a lie, just so you know.
So is there an overlap? Do agents who live and work down in and are members of that MLS also participate in the Tucson?
Yes, absolutely. And that's like Casa Grande. So Eric, the other Eric that I have been working with, Romero, that confuses everyone. He's from Casa Grande, and he grew up there. So even though he's living in Tucson, he joined the Phoenix, which is Armless, ARMLS. We are TARMLS or MLS SAZ now, multiple listing system of Southern Arizona. But he did both because the signs where he lives are from both systems.
All right. Is any of that name change related to anything to do with settlement?
Settlement.
The naming. So, I mean, you have these recent changes. We know there are mandated changes coming up to the multiple listing service.
Oh.
Based on the National Association of Realtors settlement with the case out of Missouri.
Actually, so the answer to that is no. I said TAR MLS because that is still what I use when I log in, but we became MLS SAZ, the Multiple Listing System of Southern Arizona, a good couple of years ago. And if you think about it, we are Southern Arizona. My company is Keller Williams Southern Arizona, not just Keller Williams Realty or something like that. And my office, that's my name. That's what I put on my contracts. It didn't say Keller Williams Tucson.
Okay. Well, I have to ask the question. Now that we said that border, what about the New Mexico, Arizona border? Do you guys go that far to the east?
No. Nope.
What drops off and breaks off there? Is there an MLS, or is that remote enough that it's independent brokers that are kind of managing it on their own there?
The answer is that Keller Williams doesn't have anything over there, but yeah, a lot of independent brokers. Once you get past, Benson and Wilcox and stuff, which are within an hour or so outside of Tucson, once you get further on, they're going to be kind of smaller local.
So you don't get to list Tombstone?
I could if I wanted to. And there are people who do, but usually they're people that grew up there that know it or grew up with ranches around there, things like that. I'm not going to, unlike you, who's kind of in the boonies.
I will go anywhere and do anything.
Go anyway. You're right. And you're learning about the ranches, and I don't know beans about that. But you have you had a menagerie of animals and all that, and I don't.
Yes. So you used median and average, and we talked about the difference. And I'm just going to say, following our last market episode, our brother, who is a listener, Ken, we've mentioned him before, did not feel like we
explained that.
May have articulated and explained enough the difference between the median and the average. And there's a certain amount of, we assume, some basic mathematical background for most of our listeners.
That's true.
Not everybody deals with averages and medians as frequently and as commonly as we do. We're sorry if we did not express that well, but the average is just that. If there are, so for me, as I'm looking at my screen right now, we had 3,184 homes sell last month. Those prices altogether divided by 3,184 is going to give us the average price. The median price is the one that is center mass of those 3,184 transactions.
And where are you? Where are you guys with price?
We are at 312,000 as a median price on that 3,184 units sold.
Yeah.
Last year, this time, we were $315,000. $315,000. Man, I said that terrible. $315,000.
Okay.
So we're down median price by about $3,000.
Okay. What about your averages?
You know what? My system and what I'm looking at right now doesn't have averages, so I didn't calculate averages. But what I'm looking at is the big change for us is months of inventory. The total number of transactions year over year, again, not that dramatically different, but months of inventory last year, this time, 3.5 months, now 5.2 months. So we are very, very close within our industry. Figure 6 months is considered to be an equitable or a balanced market, right?
Yep.
Buyers have a lot more negotiating power than they did when we were strictly transactional during the pandemic, when we started all of this or coming out of it. And
Yeah.
the changes, we're going to have to go back and do one of those episodes. Look what it was all the way back when we started in June of 2022 and where we're at the next time we do a markets and say 2.5 years later, what's happened?
Sitting at our brothers.
Yes. The other part is that since we're talking about averages and medians, there's always a bell curve, right? So there's the low end of the market. For me, that is houses that are less than $100,000. And that's still 1.1% of the market. The high end of the market, over $1 million, is 2.3% of our overall market. The largest portion are houses that are between 200,000 and 400,000, and that makes up 60% of the market are houses within that price range, 200,000 to 400,000.
I got to tell you, I barely, if somebody tells me they want a $200,000 house right now, there's a piece of me that is like, well, good luck with that. You know, I sold a condo earlier this year for 170 something, a 1950 something redone that we did 2-bedroom, 2-bath upstairs, but with a $353 a month HOA. So the unit itself wasn't, so much, but for me, that's going like way out into the outskirts to find anything. And so even younger kids who, I have 2 brothers that were looking together, which I think I mentioned on a prior episode, they were at 300, and 300 would have been without an HOA. And then that often meant it didn't have a garage or a carport or whatever. So our pricing's just higher than yours, it just is. And Eric, I did pull the averages, so I didn't get some of the other things, that info that you had pulled up, the days on market, I don't have real handy. But last year in June, our median was 380. So it's come down. Yours came down 3,000?
3,000.
Ours came down like 17,000.
Okay.
And then the average was almost the same. The average was at like 432. So that piece stayed similar. The difference was, and the days on market now this year, 43, average last year, 42. So that piece, some of them stayed the same. Like you, and I don't have the months of inventory, but in June, if you look at the fact that on my screen that 1,285 closed, but 1,865 new listings came on, the likelihood is that our days on market are longer and our months of inventory are longer. And I'll have to check that out. Maybe we do a quick follow-up for this.
Okay. And I have to ask the question, because luxury market, is the luxury market threshold. So in San Antonio, we're still considered to be luxury if you're over $500,000 listing.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
Is that true?
No.
In your market?
No. When I started in the business, it was that, and now we're 750.
Okay, so you've made the jump up the $250,000 and you're at 750.
And God only knows what it is up in Phoenix. I should ask one of my friends, and see what it is up there, because I'm guessing it's more.
I think I just heard a Beach Boy song in my head. With that comment.
God only knows.
Come on.
God only knows what I do.
That's it. Okay, so the other part is our median has changed. Our months have changed of inventory. However, year over year, the average days on market didn't change.
Yeah.
Both of them are 64 days.
Oh, wow.
So that was no change. Everything else changed, but the actual days on market did not.
Wow.
So go ahead, explain me that.
I don't have an explanation for that. What I did, as again, we took a little break, we took a little planning time. I had told Eric that I had read or heard that the Fed 10-year notes fell today and that was going to affect our rates, but we've both been busy and didn't have a lot of details. So I called Melissa, the lender I used a lot.
Yep.
And she said that that's usually positive for interest rates. And she said it may not be huge, but it could be 0.25 to 0.5% down. And one never knows in an election year what's going to happen, right? There's always,
especially this election year.
Yeah, no kidding.
Even more so than other election years.
Yeah, right. So there may be some people qualify for homes. Half a percentage point could make a big difference for some people. It does when it goes up, it could when it comes down, which also means for us that some of the buyers that have been on the fence might decide to buy, which in turn could create competition, which in turn could raise the price.
Which could raise the price again.
Yeah. Hey, you were talking in our last episode about the house that you have and the school district thing. We were talking school district.
Yep.
So Eric, we talk a lot about how you're kind of San Antonio and where you are, but I don't know if our listeners know that you're really, really close to being in the hill country, that you take.
Yeah, I think there was actually a licensing disagreement. Helotes, which is where I'm a member of the Chamber of Commerce.
Yeah.
Which is the little suburb north and west of San Antonio, for a while was tagging itself as gateway to the hill country.
Okay.
However, there is a little town west of Austin on Highway 290, which also decided their moniker or tagline was going to be gateway to the hill country. I think Helotes might have lost.
And one's here, and they're both going to the hill.
They're both going into the hills. Imagine that. So everybody wants to be the gateway to the hill country.
But your listing that you have is closer to Kerrville from you?
Is actually in Kerr County.
That's what
but
you
it's not close to Kerrville.
Okay, so how far is that from where you are, which is already a little bit outside of town?
Okay, so my drive to get to the property, let's see, 9, 12, 18 miles one way to get to this property. Okay,
and 18 miles on country roads versus getting on the highway and going back to town?
Yes. Okay. I'm heading the opposite way. So San Antonio, to get to San Antonio, I would be headed south and east. And instead, I'm heading further to the west, northwest.
Okay.
To get to this listing.
In my brain, it's always northwest. I don't think of it as due west, but I have to envision where you are.
Well, you go, for the most part, you go straight west. And then you make the turnoff to get to this house.
Yeah.
And you go 5.5 miles, and that's almost all straight north.
Okay.
Which is why you leave Bandera County and end up in Kerr County.
Got it. And so I'm logistically, because I'm so visual, trying to think about where you are. So from the price perspective and average, and our prices here being higher overall, is that area when we leave San Antonio on the 1604, is that what it is? And stuff, you drive by these monster homes on the one side of the road that look like they're where all the professional athletes live or something. Would that be one of the most
and areas? Let's say drop some names. George Strait had a place up there.
And what's that area called?
The Dominion.
Okay.
And yes, several of our players were in that area.
Okay.
Sandra Bullock, Tommy Lee Jones had houses up in that area. As much as there is a celebrity area,
right,
or that is more along the new money. There are historic districts in towards downtown, which are still old money.
That makes sense. I mean, we would have the same thing down by the university and stuff.
So you've got that aspect of it. Those are very high end. We've got.
What does that mean? What does high end mean in that area?
Well, okay. So we have talked previous episodes about HOAs and gated communities.
Mm-hmm.
This is one of those areas that to get onto the property, you go through a gate. Your ID is checked at the same time you're there. They're snapping a picture of your driver's license or your license plate.
Yeah.
In addition to checking your ID and making sure you have a specific place to go to.
Yeah.
Compared to other neighborhoods that you just drive into.
Yeah.
There's gated communities that if you wait long enough, you're going to follow somebody in and it's gated.
did that the other day.
Right.
Yeah. While I was trying to push the buttons, somebody else opened the gate and I just went in.
And the last time I went into one, the UPS guy apparently was a different person on the route and didn't know how to get in. So there's a UPS delivery truck sitting alongside of me. I enter the code and wow, sure enough, that UPS truck just followed me straight on in.
Yeah. So are those houses up there, you think $1 million, $2 million?
Okay. It used to be very, very exclusive.
Right.
Those were multi-million-dollar properties.
Okay.
Multi-million-dollar properties. However, like everything, it's continued to grow and expand and added small garden home areas that you can enter in at $400,000, which seems to go against what the neighborhood was originally intended to be.
Yeah.
Which was the remote private access, don't bother me, fully controlled, no one's getting in here, to 400,000. And you even get into some of those neighborhoods by what I consider to be like a back gate.
Yeah. You know, and I know I'm kind of going off track here a little bit from stats, but it's made me think about it. After I was just up in Phoenix, and it was a Phoenix address, it wasn't one of the suburbs. And then I stopped to see your daughter, Steph. And we were talking about the house that she had lived in that neighborhood that had the great big yard with the great big pool with all the trees, but the house itself was old and was a funky layout, right? It was
absolutely.
So, but that area, we had seen some of the old ones torn down, even in the years that she lived there.
A lot of gentrification going on there. That area was so specific that there was even a broker that sat within walking distance blocks away that kind of handled that entire neighborhood.
I remember seeing that. Yeah.
And I can't remember what that broker name was, but yeah, it was entirely because you had these big pieces of property.
Right. That don't exist anymore in town. Right. Yeah.
And I think we talked previous episode about being on a golf course. Mm-hmm. And because that's what gives you green.
Right.
And there were areas in towards downtown Phoenix where it was chic to turn the desert into a green landscape. Mm. So there were larger pieces of land that were not xeriscape, that did not keep the desert look, that brought in sod, that brought in grass. Yeah. I don't know if you remember that house that you're talking about that Steph was in. Actually, the way they watered the lawn was not a sprinkler system. It had little dikes and they flooded the whole yard.
Wow.
So from
I do remember that.
Top of the top back of the yard.
Yeah.
There were those little mounds and there was a gate, and they would flood that and let it soak in for a while. And then they would pull the dam.
Yeah.
It would flow down to a lower section and on and on. That was good.
What was that?
That was me talking with my hands and knocking my microphone over.
Oh, okay. So what's interesting to me, and with numbers and stuff, so our niece Christy, her husband just posted on Facebook that his brother is selling their house. And on our last episode, we talked about the graduating class in that little town in Kansas. They live in Palmer. The school wasn't even in Palmer.
Right. It was in Lynn, right?
Lynn. But yes, but his brother's selling a house for $75,000. And I didn't look at the details. It was just if you wanted more information, but I found myself thinking, where you live, the life you choose, you know, if you're rural, how rural is rural, you know, and what is the tax base? And you have always preferred being out in the country, and even that has been moving towards you the longer you live there, which is why you bought.
Certainly has. I have a new listing that'll be coming up that makes me look like I'm living in the city.
Wow. And I already was in town. You know where I'm at. I'm in a townhouse. I'm in town. Nothing around me can change substantially. It is what it is. So what I bought and where I'm at will stay the same, except for maybe old houses that will get torn down, that will be fixed up. Like one I looked at the other day, it should be torn down. So, and just
investment opportunity, right? Isn't that what you said?
Yes, I did. I talked to our older brother and then I called him back and I was like, maybe not. I was like, yeah. So all of those affect our averages, our prices, our medians and stuff like that when we have these extremes. And we have extremes in Tucson. You know, we have the backside of one of the mountain ranges that's a manufactured home on an acre with maybe nothing else, right? But then there's room for horses. And then we have the ones with the views at the top of the mountain.
And there's always those circumstances. Part of what we have to do is explain the market to the best of our ability based on what we're seeing is sold. And when you see that one that's kind of the anomaly, is it because of the condition of the house? Or was it because it was an estate and the heirs just decided, you know what, we need to get done. We want to be done out of it, whatever. And it sells for $100,000 below
everybody else,
the market.
Yeah.
But guess what? That's setting the new market. Once it's closed and you're evaluating recent closed similar sales, it becomes a reasonable comparable. And it's like, well, my house is better than that.
Yeah.
Not about the house. It's about what it sold for.
What somebody
and value and price are not the same thing. That'll have to be a separate episode. We've already tried to clarify median and average. Let's not throw something else into.
You know, I looked at a house the other day. I previewed a house for someone the other day that's listed at 1.5 million. And as I got there, I thought, I think I came here for a birthday party. And I messaged this woman and I said, is this where you had your 50th birthday party? And she said, yes. And we had done one of those take the wine trip thing and we came back. But what she said to me, she said, and we paid too much. She goes, it should have been, she said there was, a septic and a toilet that didn't work and it was hard to get in and out. And what I thought about, the buyer wants to be close to a hospital. As the bird flies, it's super close. But it's one lane road, up a hill, twist back, top of the hill. The back of the house looks like the front of the house. And I basically told this buyer, I go, if there was an ambulance that had to get to you, that would add easily 15 minutes, easily just to go up the hill and get there. So even though on a map, looks really close, and it had started at 1.8 million and it was at 1.5.
Wow. So $300,000 price improvement
in 2 months.
Correction, price improvement. How are we presenting that? Yeah. Well, that's the thing about this property that I went and saw. It is just under 11 acres. It is entirely undeveloped and it is remote enough that I met the seller in Boerne. And that's a town that's nearby to where I'm at, nearby being about a 16 miles one way to get to it. Met him in a parking lot. We then drove to the property. It took us to go 2 towns up, almost 50 minutes.
Wow. Because it's rural? Because
it's rural. You left Boerne, you went further to the north and west out I-10, headed towards Kerrville. Mm-hmm. But you jump off the highway in this Comfort, which is school district we talked about in last episode. Yeah. You head 6 miles back to the hills from there, cut off on another road, and the rural road that you're on now has not 1, not 2, not 3, but 6 cattle guards because of open grazing before you get to the subdivision where the land's at.
Wow. And where will that be from your house? Will it be the same distance or do you have to go through Boerne or would it be a different?
Oh, no, I definitely have to go through Boerne to get to it. Okay. I mean, there's multiple routes, but.
And how does one spell Boerne for those who have never been there?
Boerne, burn.
Not like Bernard or not like
no. That's part of the anglicized German,
yeah,
whatever we had.
Yeah.
So that's our markets.
Yeah, you know what I think we should do, Ari? You know how we did that quick little ditty where I went back with Evie after what had happened with her disability portion. You know, that magic potion. Jeez. You should check out Dallas and like Houston and Austin and see what those numbers are there, like for the month of June. And I'll check out Phoenix and Flagstaff because those are our three major cities, right? Like I wouldn't go to Sedona because the prices, it's small and it's, but it would be interesting to see how our specific markets in our state compare to, for you have 3 or 4 other
right. Yeah, we've got honestly what they refer to as the Golden Triangle, which is Dallas Fort Worth, which is Metro Texas is what they call it. You've got Houston, over to San Antonio, and San Antonio back up to Dallas takes you through Austin.
Right.
So,
right. I think it'd be interesting to do that. Maybe we throw together a 7 to 10 minute follow-up because I think it would be interesting to compare the stats. And for me, knowing full well that Flagstaff also can be really expensive because there's nowhere to go. And people are building on the sides of hills and, and stuff. So that amazes me, frankly. So
build on stilts, right?
Yeah, absolutely. One of Caleb's high school friends is doing that exact thing. You should see
here you build on stilts because the waterway suddenly becomes a raging river that's 30 foot deep and wipes your house out. Picks it up and floats it down the river.
That does not happen here very often. That's the 100-year storm, and we're going to flood, and we're going to hope that doesn't happen. So,
all right. So,
anyway. All right. Thanks everybody for joining us. My brother's twirling his fingers. Let's wrap it up. As we talked a little bit about the markets, which we've been doing pretty regularly, and what's been happening with price points and interest rates and things in our area. We hope that we entertain you and that we give you a little bit about real estate and a little bit about lifestyle, a little bit. He's making all sorts of signs while I'm trying to do this. Anyway, keep in mind that our goal is to communicate, educate, entertain, and connect with you about what's happening. If you're in Arizona today, we said specifically Tucson, but I serve Southern Arizona. Or if you're in South Central Texas, the San Antonio area, up to the hill country, and wherever else my brother goes, we are both realtors with Keller Williams, and we are here to help you find a place that you can call home and that you can create lasting memories in. So wherever you are in the United States or across the world, we also have a network of professionals that we can refer you to and other professional real estate advisors so that we can help you in other places. Anyway, it may be simple. It ain't always easy. Until the next time, I'm Donna.
And I'm Eric.
And we are
Real Siblings.
Hey! So good at this, Eric.
Every time I think about the places I have known, I realize that times have changed. So I'll do what I can to make this house into a home. Yeah.
I'm Annabelle, and I want to thank you for investing your valuable time in listening to Real Sibling. It Ain't Easy. I hope you found this episode informative and enjoyable. There are several ways you can support this podcast with my Grandpa Eric and Aunt Grandma. Please take the time to like, follow, and subscribe. Additionally, leave them a 5-star rating along with a review on your preferred podcast platform. The final thing I would ask is that you recommend this podcast to a friend, a family member, or an associate. Your engagement is critical to their ongoing success, and they look forward to connecting. Check out the show notes Grandpa put together with their contact information, including emails, phone numbers, and website. And remember, the Real Siblings look forward to hearing from you.